I'm Jenna with Refurbished at Nap Time, and today I'm going to show you how to create an Alice in Wonderland globe from start to finish. I'm using I Love Hues, Gypsy Magic, and Pinkaboo to create this really pretty light mauve color that I'm calling Vintage Rose. I started by spraying the base of my globe in a soft metallic blush. I then apply my paint all over, starting with the bottom. I flip the globe upside down so that I have a good handle on the base, and it's easier to paint as I go. I'm just working my way around, doing layers at a time, starting from the bottom and working my way up to the top. As you see, I'll go all the way around the globe, over the portions that I've already done so that the paint blends together smoothly. For this particular globe, I was not able to get the paper off. It was just too difficult. Sometimes the globes are not easy to disassemble, and this was just one of them. So instead, I just decided to paint right over the paper, and it was fine. This paint covers really well. I mean, you can see how much it's covering with just the first coat. Now that I'm about halfway through the globe, I flipped it over, and I'll just continue to spin it using the top portion. Makes it a lot easier because it does get really hard to hold that globe as you're working. It's okay that I got a little bit of spray paint on it. It kind of gives it a little bit of texture and helps the paint adhere, in my opinion. So if you do get spray paint on your globe, you don't have to worry too much. The only time that I would worry is if you're going from dark to light, then I would possibly put a layer of primer down just to protect from that spray paint. I'm almost done with the first coat. At that point, I will allow it to dry for about a good 30 minutes. That just gives it a good chance to adhere properly and less chance of it pulling back the paint as I'm applying my second coat. I'm real careful when I go around the top. Most globes have a little disc on the top that usually has the coordinates, I guess is what that portion is. I use that little disc to help turn my globe. You can also use the little screw at the top to help turn the globe. However, you have to be careful. It may completely unscrew your rod that goes through the globe if you go too far with it. This is the most tedious part of painting it. If you get it on your spray paint, you can typically wipe it off pretty quickly or just touch up with a little bit of spray paint later. Move your globe all around. Sometimes those discs move, and that will show you little portions that you might have missed. You definitely want to be sure that you get every little section. I'm using the Alice in Wonderland transfer from Bells and Whistles. This is the first time that I've used it, and I really enjoyed it. It's a really pretty design that has this kind of vintage flair to it. The colors aren't super bright on it. They're very laid back and pastel almost. I start my globes by always cutting around my transfer design. This allows it to move and shape to how I want it to move on the globe. Otherwise, the clear pieces just become too stiff, and it's a lot harder to apply them on a curved surface. Once I have my transfer in the position that I want it on my globe, I'll start to apply it using my transfer tool or the little wooden stick that's provided. I'll start in a little section of the transfer. I don't press the whole thing down because I don't want it to just automatically stick to the globe. I want to be able to move it to where I need it to go. You can see where a small section of the clear page has started to lift up. This is great. It actually allows me to press the leg portion of the bird down to where I want it to go. Had I not cut that, that leg would probably have ended up a little crooked because the clear backing would not have gone where I needed it to. I'm just going to continue pressing all along the design. I keep the head of the bird up because I want it to go at a certain spot and not end up a little bit crooked. I'll slowly pull off in sections as I'm working. Now I pulled up the top above Alice's head, and you can see how that portion has lifted up to allow me to place the bird at the right area. Once I have it all down, I'll slowly pull the clear page up and then lightly press on my design to make sure that it's completely adhered. I continued applying the rest of the transfer on all the way around the globe. Now I'm going to clear coat it in I Love Hue's flat Mystic Shell top coat. Again, I start at the bottom by flipping the globe over, and I'm applying with a small synthetic brush. I'll continue to work my way all the way around the globe, just like I did on my first 2 coats with paint. This is a great top coat as it's very durable and has minimal, if any, brush strokes. You can purchase this top coat in flat, satin, or semi-gloss. I did this one in flat just because of the overall design of the transfer being very pastel and vintage-like. Now it's completely top coated, and this is just one top coat. I'm going to start applying my Would You Bin moldings. I've painted them in the same color that I custom mixed. Here I am heating up the back and front of the Would You Bin clock to apply to the base of the globe. I'll use my Gorilla Glue. Once the Would You Bin has been heated enough and is pliable, it then becomes bendable, and I can conform it to the base of the globe. After you put the glue on, you just simply push. This is the tricky part when it comes to bending the Would You Bins, just because it is wood. They do like to stiffen up and kind of pop up a little bit, but if you are able to get your Would You Bin hot enough, which is not difficult at all, it will really stick and conform to whatever you're applying it to. You just need to add a little bit of pressure and enough glue, and just keep holding it as it's starting to dry. The wood of the Would You Bin has no problem staying in the shape that you push it onto. I'll use a toothpick and a baby wipe to help wipe up any excess glue that I may have. And I'm just going to continue to apply all of these molds to the base. I've used a clock, a crown, a couple of flowers, a key, and a keyhole. Now I have all my Would You Bin molds applied to the top. I did go in and add a little trim to the base of it. I felt like it needed a little bit more, and applied a custom mix of another color just to accentuate some of the molds. I'm now going to use my I Love Hue clear coat, my Posh Chalk Interiors pale gold pigments, and mix the two together to create a paintable liquid gold. You can see how just a little bit of paint has accentuated the design on the molds. I could have left it as is, but I wanted to have just a little bit of gold accent to bring out on those designs as well, just a light dusting. So I have a paper towel off to the side, and I'm using an artist's brush, and I've dipped my brush into the Posh Chalk pigments and then wiped it off on my paper towel, and I'm just barely applying any bit of gold to it. I don't want it an overwhelming layer of gold. I want it to be something that you just see when the light hits it, because I want some of that whitish pinkish color that I applied over the molds to stand out as well. I didn't want to completely cover that up. The lighting at this time of day when I was filming this was a little too bright, and my camera was not wanting to cooperate too well. But you can kind of see a little bit of the gold on there. You'll see it more in a minute with the rest of the video. But I'm just showing you how I lightly apply it on. There's no need to press hard, and you're just kind of giving it a little dust. The Posh Chalk pigments goes a long way, so you don't need to worry about creating too much or too little. You can barely make any and it will last you for a good portion of your project. And here you can see just that slight shimmer on it. And here's the finished result with some of the gold. Now that white undertone doesn't stand out quite so much, and you've got that little bit of gold as detail. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more how-to videos. You can find Refurbished at Naptime at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, as well as refurbishedatnaptime.com. I will have a step-by-step tutorial blog on this globe with all the products that I use that you can purchase for yourself to make your very own.